Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I want to tackle some linear equations. And believe it or not, linear equations on an SAT can be quite tricky and time consuming because it almost always shows up on no calculator section. And everybody is super confident that it's pretty easy to solve. I mean, what is there to it? You just put the value of x and the value of y, calculate. I mean, easier said than done. But when you're on a time crunch, you get a linear equation that's like this. You've got hybrid fractions going on in there. And then you start with the regular procedure. X equals, half y plus 1 by 5, equals negative 1 by 6. So then 6, you bring it over here. So, I mean, it can really get cumbersome when you're dealing with fractions, and then you try to put the value of x in here and get the solution, and it may seem like it's trivial, but it's actually not when you're on a time crunch. So today I'm going to give you a secret on how to quickly and nearly instantly solve it within seconds, so you're not wasting your precious time on an SAT. And I guarantee you, when you get this kind of linear equation on an SAT with your traditional method, when you go to solve it, it's going to take you maybe, even if you're super fast with fractions, like 5 minutes or even 10 minutes. And I guarantee you try this equation right now yourself, pause this video, and just time yourself, see how much it takes. And these kind of equations, the hybrid linear equations that with fractions, are called test busters. You go in there confident, you look at this question, seems easy, you attempt it, and what do you know? You spent 15 minutes on it, and your answer is still wrong. And boom, those precious minutes are gone, and you score when you could have scored like 780, 790, 800. It's going to come right down to 680, 690 because of that time gone. So these kind of equations are called test busters, and I want all the young aspirants to know how to solve linear equations instantly. So let's say a linear equation is a1x plus b1y plus c1 equals 0. So break the linear equations into that format, and they can be given in multiple different ways, but you rewrite the equations so then you can see them this way: a2x plus b2y plus c2 equals 0. So that's your linear equation. So what you do is it's going to have the solution, it's going to have a denominator, and it's going to have a numerator. So what's going to go in the denominator is a1 times b1 minus a2 times b1. Almost instantly, just start plugging in. No thoughts, just do it. a1 b2 minus a2 b1. Remember the order. It's almost like a determinant. You're calculating a determinant. So you got the value of the denominator. To get the value of the numerator, if you're looking at the x section, just cover this x line and then just do b1 minus b1 c2 minus b2 c1. So b1 c2 minus b2 c1. Boom. That's it. And that's your value for x. For the y values, if you're calculating the y values, okay, so similar thing, okay. The denominator is going to be exactly the same. Same thing that you calculated before. Keep it in your memory, or you can write down whatever the value it is, a1 b2 minus a2 b1, okay. So then if you're calculating the y value, you remember a minus before it. And then this time you're going to do a1 c2. Okay, you cover this line right here, you cover this. And when you cover it, you're going to have a1 c2 minus a2 c1. Boom, that's your value of y. That is how easy it is. So when you get an equation like this, it's fractions, so you go by your traditional method, and you're going to take minutes. But this way, at least you have a final form, and you have less chances of making your errors and rearranging the equations. And there are multiple methods. And if the linear equation is trivial, if it's trivial, then you can do it with your older method. But I guarantee you they're going to give you fractions and partial fractions, and it's going to be kind of messy. So let's just apply this really quick, okay, to this equation right here. So denominator is going to be 1/6 times 4 minus 2/3 minus half. So we're just going to calculate that in the side here on the rough. 1/6 times 4. So that's your A1, B2 minus 2/3 times half. Okay? So what's that? You've got your 2/3 minus 1/3. Your answer is 1/3. So your denominator is 1/3, which means it's technically multiplied by 3. Whatever we're going to get in the numerator, we're going to multiply 3 times numerator. So let's calculate our value of x. Okay, x will be, we're going to do half times half minus 4 times 1/5. So these values are A1, because you're going to cover this section. We're going to cover this section and just do half times half minus 4 times 1/5. What is that? Okay, so you're looking at 5 times 4 in the denominator here. So 5 minus 16. So that becomes negative 11 over 20 times our multiplier 3. The answer becomes negative 33 over 20. Right? So then we got our x value, negative 33 over 20, pretty easily. Let's calculate our y values. Okay? The denominator is going to be the same. Basically, we're going to multiply whatever we get in the numerator for our y value. We're just going to multiply it by 3. So let's just see what the y value is going to be. We cover this section with our finger. We cover this section. And now you're left with 1/6 times half, 2/3 times. That's what we just did. We're doing the value of y now. So for the value of y, the numerator will be this times this. So 1/6 times half minus 2/3 times 1/5. So that becomes 1/12 minus 2/15. We'll just quickly calculate this. So we've got 15 minus 24 divided by 15 times 12 multiplied by 3. So we're looking at, and the y value is minus on the outside. So we're going to have a y value that's going to be a minus. So minus 9 times 12, 15 times 3. We solve that. 2 times 5. We get our value, minus 9 minus plus 3 over 20. So our y value becomes 3 over 20. We add these together, we get negative 30 over 20, which is the same as 3. So it's fairly straightforward if you're good with fast calculations with fractions. And you're going to save a lot of steps trying to rearrange the equation the old way and plugging the value. Almost everybody's going to tell you to plug in and rearrange the equation or do elimination or whatever. No, just remember this straightforward pattern of crisscross. Okay, it's practically just this pattern. Okay, you're going to see the pattern that is right here. Screenshot that and just take that as a tip. Your denominator is always going to be the same. Your numerator changes based on what you're trying to calculate. Just crisscross. So if you just remember that, instantly solve the equations. So it's just something that will save you a lot of time instead of trying to have to do like minus 1/5 minus half y times 6 equals x. Now we're going to plug this x value in here, so this is going to become 2 times 3. Oh gosh, 1.5. Just basically 1 over 5, 1 over 2 y times 6 plus 4y. So what is the value of y? It can take you at least 5 minutes. And you don't have that kind of time for these kind of questions. You spend that much time on a linear equation, you're going to take time out of a lot of other questions. So just remember this quick formula. When you're doing the value of x, the denominator is always going to be the same in both cases. You've got a1, b2 minus a2, b1. And the numerator, you cover this line for the value of, calculating the value of x, you cover this line with your finger, and then you have b1, c2 minus b2, c1. Simple that. And then when you're calculating the value of y, cover the y column for your numerator and just do a1, c2 minus a2, c1. Simple as that. So you can get the value of x right away, and then you can also try plugging it. If one of the equations is simple enough, you could plug in the value and get it that way. But it's just much simpler to just remember this formula. It's just much simpler to remember this formula. This one I've been typing here, and it looks like it didn't go through. So I'll just reiterate. So for the value of y, if you want the value of y, just cover this column with your finger. The denominator is going to be the same in both cases, a1, b2 minus a2, b1. And then the numerator for y would be a1 times c2, crisscross, a2 times c1. So if I were to rewrite that so you can see clearly, a1, let's just write coefficients. So it's practically a determinant. That's just what it is at this point. So for the value of x, you cover this column, for value of y, cover this column, and then a1, c2 minus a2, c1. So a1, c2 minus a2, c1. And then your denominator is a1, b2 minus a2, b1. And that will be your value of the minus sign. Remember the minus sign for the y. And that's how you calculate it. So that's it. Enjoy this technique. It has been a well-kept secret for the high scorers until today. And I have just spilled the beans. Enjoy. Thank you for watching.